All right, this Bali, Montagio. You guys are doing suits and
Shirts.
suits, shirts, real custom, high end is really what you're doing. And I want to give a quick intro, a quick summary to who you are before I hear your story and how you got into it. But I understand you were born in Australia, correct? You started off taxation office, moved into commercial risk management, and then the recession hit. Just after the recession, you co-founded this with a partner in Australia.
That's correct.
Started a few locations there. This location in Canada here. Tell me more. Let's dive into how you started, how you grew up, and why.
So thanks, Charlie. I grew up in Australia. I was studying and I went to university, did a risk management degree. I worked in finance, taxation, and then the GFC hit in 2008. So back then there was nothing going on too much, like in terms of the finance. A friend of mine told me to, sell some suits, and I always wore suits. I always wore tailor-made suits because that's where our fathers and our forefathers are always wearing proper suits. So I saw a gap in the market in 2008, 2009. A friend of mine was already doing some suits, some custom wear. I kind of partnered up with him, brought our friend as a supplier on, and then we tested and refined and whatnot. And we opened 2 locations in Australia. One's in Sydney, one's in Brisbane. And my wife, who's from Oakville, brought me to Oakville. And hence I'm operating here for the last year or so now. So it's been really good. It's been awesome.
So risk management is what your degree's in, correct? And how long was that program?
3 years.
3 years. So that's interesting. Like, was it the passion for suits or what?
I guess it's just a business, right? Like you got to run it as a business. The passion is the outcome. So people, when they walk out, they're looking good, they feel good, and we are part of their journey in their corporate life or anywhere in their life. It could be from a graduation to getting married. I've had requests for people that wanted their coffin suits as well. So that's a little bit of a sad story, but in terms of suits for all occasions,
Wow.
So that's why. So we want to be part of them. We want to be part of their journey in their corporate life and in their personal life as well. So that's where the passion grew.
So what impresses me the most is how it's such a niche and attention to detail. The amount of measurements you took when we're doing my suit is I couldn't relate more to the struggles I'm sure that you have with being the owner and having your team get everything perfect. There's zero room for error. And I'm sure scaling this business, it's not easy. You guys have done an amazing job at it. Was it right off the bat you were starting those 2 locations, or did you start one, it went good, and then it was kind of copy and paste from there?
So basically we started with a very small location. Then we grew into a bigger location, and then we doubled that location. So we organically grew like that. And then the second location was a geographical location. So it went from Sydney to Brisbane, but we had the processes in place. So we just needed good people to learn the process and implement that.
So once you had them, it was more copy and paste.
Copy and paste. And to the system and to our tailors and our staff, I dedicate like a lot to them actually, because they actually follow the process. So in any business, you gotta find your niche. You gotta have a process, and then you gotta refine it, and then actually implement it. Keep implementing. You're gonna make mistakes. This is not an easy business to be in. I don't think any business is easy. But once you have your processes in place, once you have some checks and balances in place, then the outcome is gonna happen, right? So so it's just a part of day in, day out. It's just
And what were a few of the key hard lessons or hard knocks that you're thankful for looking back at them because of the lesson learned from them?
I guess in suit construction, I'll just put it to suit construction. I think it's a pattern, right? It's how the pattern is developed for each body type. We needed to work with our tailors to actually implement those patterns, those measurements, so we get good fitting suits at the end. We looked at models of Savile Row, of suits, people getting suits. Their process is a little bit more involved as such, where, you have 3 months of fittings. You can have 6 to 8 fittings. It's not a cheap suit, like it's 3,000 to 4,000 pounds to start from.
Yeah.
But we kind of recognize that, people don't have that much time, and then they don't have that much money to dedicate to these processes. So then we went to the M2M model, and the M2M model was made to measure. That is a process where block patterns are actually made, and then customers are kind of made to fit into those block patterns, right? We kind of extrapolated the bespoke and the M2M, and then we created the custom tailoring process. The custom tailoring process is a little bit more involved than an M2M, but less rigorous than the bespoke process. So we didn't go down the route of block patterns. We went down the route of creating patterns for each person. And with digital photography and our measurement system and how our tailors work, we kind of refine that process to bring suits in at a reasonable cost and within a reasonable time frame, right? So the end result was the customer got a really good fitting suit, didn't need too many alterations and or amendments, and they walked away within a reasonable time frame, paying a reasonable amount for a custom suit. And so we kind of refined that model day in, day out, and you're wearing one of the masterpieces now.
Yeah, and I can say that myself, how simple it was. I came in, you measured me up, and I was back here to pick it up in whatever time frame it was.
Yeah.
So that was it. And you're dealing with busy, high-profile businessmen. They don't have time to mess around, but everyone still wants to look good and feel good, right?
Yeah, so exactly. So, we direct people on fabric, design, measurements, and then we kind of curate a garment for them. So they kind of own their own look. That's their own look. That's Charlie's look, and that's Bally's look, and that's Roger's look, that's David's look. So everyone has their own look. You might like your trousers longer. You might like to show a little bit of sock. You may not like that. So everyone has their own look, and we need to create that look for them. So our basis of styling is tell me what you like, and that's where the conversation starts.
So I want to dive deeper into your systems and processes because scaling the model is everyone can provide a great service, premium, high quality when it's just them.
Yeah.
But a lot of people choke up when it comes to scaling it and having those systems, those processes in place, and having your team be able to fulfill that day in and day out, have it almost dummy proof, right?
Yeah.
So what were a few hiccups that you guys have worked on and refined now within those systems? And what does that system look like for say you're the person fulfilling that? What does that look like?
It all starts from the people. Systems are as good as the people. If you're this is a very technical business when you have to look at it. It's a very technical business. So we have to basically train the people first, and then the system helps them, aids them to fulfill those processes, right? So, like people ask, like my daughter asked me, why do I need to go to school? Everything's done on a computer.
Yeah.
The computer is only as good as what you put into the computer. It's not going to spit out all the answers. Maybe AI will one day, but the people, you need to know your stuff. You need to know fabrics. You need to know weight of the fabrics. You need to know how the body is shaped. How the suit is going to be curated before you go use the system, right? So we place a lot of emphasis on people development, training, and fulfilling those processes. Then we tell them to go use a system to aid that process, to curate that suit, to manage that order, to fulfill that order, and if things need to be remade, we have the system to remake certain garments as well, right? So it's actually an aid more than the other way around, right? So that we emphasize on the people first, and then we tell the people, our staff, to go and use the system as an aid
To their knowledge that they would learn through the
and so they don't make errors. The system is there to reduce errors.
All right, interesting.
So,
and how long is that training process usually? Because there's quite a few ins and outs.
Yeah, well, we train our staff for a full year before we let them go.
Wow.
So it's a year-long process. They need to know fabrics. They need to know body types. They need to know how the suit's cut, how to create patterns, how to fulfill what the suit requirements are. And then they can go, we hold their hands, we shadow them, we mentor them, we train them. We have mentor programs, so the seniors will mentor the juniors, and the juniors will go back to them. If the seniors cannot answer any of the questions, then they come to the director level. So we kind of have that kind of process where everyone's learning, as we go. So because the directors have been in the business, they've seen a lot of body types, they've seen a lot of fabrics, they've seen how to diffuse situations where it's not going to go right. We kind of train them on that. Look at that body type, look at this body type. This is how we formulate this. And then the system records all of this stuff, and then we use that system to train people as well. So
right.
it's a whole circle, as you would say.
And what have you guys built? Is it like video modules, or like how is it structured for that year?
Yeah, so we've built video modules, we've built dummy suits, we've built dummy patterns, we've built a lot of things related, like the sleeve. We're telling, like, we rip the sleeve off, and we tell if people have forward arms or backwards arms, and we kind of curate that with the staff and tell them this is what you should be looking for, shoulder slopes, and how your body is structured. Some people have a protruding neck, and have a bit of a hunch at the back. This is how the suit should be falling, or this is what you should be looking for. So we have video aid on that. We have system aid. We have tailor aid.
Right.
So tailors are giving input as well.
So that like it's pretty in depth of what it sounds like. How did you learn? Sure, getting into the suit business is great, but if you don't know what the hell you're doing, like...
I just dived in. I basically was given that I need to learn measurements. I need to know pattern making. I need to know how the suits are constructed, from where the fabrics are coming from, how the fabrics are sourced, what's the composition of fabrics. All of this stuff was on the run, basically learning with the tailors. I spent a few months in Thailand as well, back and forth in 2009, just learning from the master tailors, how they actually do this stuff. So once you learn, and then you have to implement,
right,
and then you have to go learn again. So it's an ongoing process. So If someone says that, they can learn it in 3 months, good luck. It is a difficult art. But it's a constant learning. It's refining that process. And then, once you hit that, then you can pass that baton on to your staff, and the tailors know how you speak. We know how to speak. So, at the end of the day, everyone's speaking the same language.
Right.
So that, I guess, the crux of all good businesses is everyone speaks the same language. Whatever language that is, everyone speaks it.
Well, it's up to you to create that language as the business owner, right?
Yeah, that vision. Yeah.
So, and maintaining that vision throughout your team, I'm sure it's quite important. And you guys built a software around, you have the knowledge, but to bridge the gap from knowledge to implementation, correct? Is why the software was built.
That's correct, yeah. So we wanted to reduce errors at the end of the day, human error. We wanted to track our sales, track our profitability, track our costs, track how many garments we're making, how many deliveries. So we had to build a custom-made kind of software for that. Nothing on the market was dedicated to that. So our systems are very bespoke or custom, and our suits and shirts are very bespoke as well.
So what are a few key metrics that you guys track, whether it's the suit business or not?
Yeah.
I'm sure it can translate. Like what are a few key ones that you guys are always looking for?
So key metrics is profitability. We always track number of suits we're getting, and the number of inquiries and bookings. So as the cycles go, interest rates going up or down, economy going into a recessionary period or inflationary period, or a boom, property boom, all of these external factors kind of play into how the suit business actually does as well. So in COVID, we had lockdowns, and then when people came out of COVID, people never went back to work full time. So we had to kind of pivot on that and actually offer other products to the customers. So that could be like shirts, could be blazers, could be trousers, individually on their own instead of suits. But we've seen a pickup on the weddings now as well. So we kind of track all these matrices, where people are coming from, what they're actually buying it for. Is it a wedding, a business, a casual, a formal event? All of these things we kind of track as well. So we get the system aids that for us. We kind of understand where the data's coming from, and then we can curate offers as well, to certain customers and target them on Facebook or Google or this is it's marketing and building that system is always evolving.
Well, and that's awesome to hear. I'm sure you guys learned early on the importance of that. Otherwise, when it comes to marketing, it's like throwing darts with a blindfold,
that's
right?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. So you could spend a lot of money on, I would say, useless stuff. And when you start business, you actually go on this journey of spending too much. You're not calculating where the money is being spent. Someone's telling you to advertise here and advertise there, but there's no real type of ROI on that investment. You're just throwing money away.
Well, whether you're naive or don't have the analytics starting off.
Yeah, you don't have the analytics. But then as you build your systems and your processes, then your analytics comes with that, right? So you start tracking leads, transactions, cost per clicks, and all that stuff on each platform. That could be from Instagram to Facebook to Google to blogs out there that you're getting leads from as well. So you kind of curate your kind of marketing budget and strategy based on that. So over time we've kind of worked out that Facebook and Google have given us the most. So we kind of curate we spend the biggest on them. Right.
So, and what else do you guys do? Like how do you guys find like the in-person stuff works? Like the chamber events?
The chamber, it's always good to be out there with, like-minded people, because they're always going to refer you to B2B, B2C kind of customers as well. So chamber events, I'm a Rotarian as well. I'm part of 3 or 4 other clubs that, business related, idea sharing, they kind of build who you are and the brand. So right now in Canada, the brand is new and I'm the face of the brand. So I need to be out there. I need to make sure that people associate Bali with suits.
Right.
And then everything kind of flows from that. So someone's thinking about suits, you got to go to Bali, right? Someone's thinking about landscaping, you got to go to Child. Right. So you got to build that brand for yourself first, and then it kind of flows from there.
Once the snowball starts rolling.
That's correct. Yeah.
So I'm curious your hiring process and recruitment process.
Yeah.
Because that's a big investment. 1 year spending on this guy who knows if they're going to be good enough.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Because I struggle with that quite a bit, to be honest. They put on a mask in the interview.
Yeah.
They're great for the first month, but then when they start showing their true colors, you start trusting them, and then they start to slip a little bit.
This is $1 million question for any business owner. How to hire and retain is a big challenge in today's market. We've just been fortunate. I guess we've been through the journey of hiring, firing within a month, hiring and firing, I guess. And then we kind of worked out the core skills that we need before we even interview that person. We need someone to be an active listener. We need them to be proactive on certain aspects of the job. So initially they could be just, mirroring another colleague of theirs. But they need to listen. They need to be active. They need to be proactive in learning. Right? And then they need to have a little bit of experience in suits as well, right? Dealing with customers, difficult customers. So we have a behavioral type of interview process that kind of works for us. So we ask them for examples if they, in certain situations to tell us how they deal with certain situations,
right.
I guess. So once we curate that, we have some attention to detail kind of testing as well. We have some numeracy testing as well.
What do those tests look like?
So it's basically like a comprehension that they have to go through, read it, and pick out the errors. And then that tells us that they have some, reading and writing skills, because they have to email customers. They have to email C-level customers. Right. So they need to be able to write. They need to be articulate in their emails. And then we test them on some numeracy skills as well. So some math skills that I guess every sales consultant needs to know. They need to know, like when you add $100 and $150, how much does that add up to? $250.
Right.
So it says we time these tests as well, so we don't give them, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's a behavioral, then there's a numeracy and a comprehension kind of testing. Once we understand that they can talk the talk and walk the walk in terms of those aspects, then we look at then we do some reference tests from that. So once you do, your reference tests or references, then you get to understand that person. And then we tell them, look, this is going to be a 6-month probation, because mostly, most corporations are 3 months or 4 months probation, but we tell them it's 6 months because there's a lot of learning. So once they go through that process, that rigorous interview process, a testing process, and we tell them it's a 6-month probation, they already know this is not a job where you just rock up 9 to 5.
Right.
This is where you're going to be learning, sharing, and developing, right, as a person. Once we give that structure, then the individual starts to appreciate that role, right? Once they start appreciating that role, and we actually hold their hands for the next 6 months, then they get to appreciate the role, the corporation, the brand.
Right.
And once they like the brand or they like the corporation and how we held their hand and for the last 6 months, then there's a lot of, and we pay them well as well, don't worry. But once they understand all of that thing, not many organizations out there actually actively do that. So we put in 150% and we require them to put at least 100%.
Right.
Right. And if we know if they put 100% in this, that we will retain this staff member for the long term.
And you mean many corporations don't hold their hand, opposed they more so throw them in the deep end? Is that what you're?
I guess yeah. It's like mentorships, right? So a lot of large corporations they expect the individual to run straight off the bat.
Right. Right.
And
so setting them up for success.
Yeah, we want to set them up for success. If they make a mistake, we're not going to harp on it because it's a very involved process, right? Styling, measurements, procurement, and then fulfillment is a lot of steps in between. So there's going to be some times where they're going to miss something, or they're going to not write it down, or mistakenly write the wrong fabric down or something. But we don't harp on that. We go, okay, this is where we recognize this is where you made the mistake. Let's fix that for the next time. Okay, so if they make 3 or 4 big mistakes, then that's an issue. Then we know this is not the right person and we have to move them on.
Right.
And that comes pretty quickly, right? But I think our interview process is pretty rigorous in the sense that, we're not letting everyone coming in the door.
And I feel once people see that it's like actually worth something to be part of this organization and culture, that they really smarten up and they're like, okay, like I'm
exactly. So we kind of copied big corporations. If you wanted to work for like a big corporation, I went through that process as well. It was 3 or 4. We had to do aptitude tests. We had to do behavioral interviews, 2 interviews. Then we had to do more testing. The only reason they did this was to make sure that the person that they hired understood what the value of this of the corporation was. That they're not just hiring some rando down the street,
some Joe Blow.
Yeah, that just did a degree. They want to know what you do outside, your schooling hours or your university hours. How do you keep developing yourself? So I think that's important. So when you're hiring, hire a person that wants to be there, and not just because they just want a paycheck at the end of the day.
Right.
So how do you cull that? You gotta put some barriers at the start to make sure, hey, this is not just I'm not just gonna give you a job. You have to go through that process and you have to want to be here. Once they want to be there, then your job as a business owner is much easier.
So, but making a spot for people to want to be there, making a team, building a culture that people want to be here. Sure, it's professional, it's fancy, it's this and that, but if the people they're working with or the environment is not positive, that's another big thing as well. And that's one thing that attracts really skilled and good people, right? Yeah. So what are a few things that a few key things that have helped you build the culture of accountability. And people are going to make the mistakes, you're right, but the culture of not the finger pointing, because there's so many processes and so many steps to get to this final product. How like, what's worked for you on that aspect?
I think it goes back to the systems, right? So we go just follow the process. We write the process down for all of it, or each element of our business is process defined. So from taking measurements to creating a suit to fabrics, it's all defined. So so it's a manual. We've actually created a manual,
Like a binder for that? Yeah.
And give it to them so they can refer back to that binder or that process and go, okay, cool, I missed that step and that's why I made that mistake, right? How do you create the culture of inclusion and, you know, making sure that we're all learning and whatnot? We have WhatsApp groups and we share our successes, we share our failures, you know, we share customer experiences, we share, you know, the goods and the bads and everything.
Right.
So, and we create that family, right? So we have each other's backs, you know, at the end of the day. So once they feel like you have their back, you know, the manager has their back, the tailor has their back, then, you know, we recreate this culture of productivity. And there's no like, you know, he's done this or he's done that, we should do that. No, we don't have that. We don't have that finger pointing. And it's because we kind of define the processes and we get people to ask questions, right? And if they make a mistake, we kind of nurture them as well.
Right.
It's nurturing. Because we want to invest in people. We want to make sure they develop. And we want to make sure that they contribute to the team as well. And the only way to do that is have positive kind of outcomes for each scenario. And sometimes it's hard, you know, it's difficult, but you know, it's the tone that you speak in. It's the way you speak to your staff. It's, you know, it's how you direct them to do stuff. So, you know, I put up my hand. Like I'm sitting in Australia. I'm directing a few people in offshore. I work 3 time zones. You know, it kind of works because I empathize at the end of the day with all of them.
Right.
I share insights on the business. You know, so, you know, make them feel like a family. That's the way.
And I'm curious to hear from you, like almost the balance of setting standards within an organization is very important. And if you're more lenient with Joe than you are with Sam, it's an issue, right? And they start to see that. Yeah. And, oh, it's okay, Joe, but next time don't mess it up. And then Sam, you're hard on him. Yeah. Where do you find drawing that line is the most appropriate with almost having that balance, if you understand what I'm saying, of like, listen, this is our standard. We don't put up with any of this.
Yeah. So we have that. So in every organization, is a hierarchical kind of, you know, you got the owners and you got the manager.
Like your org chart?
Yeah, your org chart. Joe and, what was the other name? Sam. So Joe and Sam, so the manager's got Joe on a pedestal and they got Sam on like he's knocking him down all the time. If you want Sam to be part of your organization, there's a few things that you can do, right? If you want, that's the first question you have to ask yourself. Do you want Sam to be part of the organization? If the answer is no, then you need to create a pathway for him to move on.
Right.
Right. So that's the first question. If you want him to be part of the organization, organizations use performance management, right? They set certain structures in place,
like KPIs
and mentorships. He could be struggling in a few aspects of his job. Is it the manager's responsibility? Certainly it is. Maybe he doesn't have a good working relationship with the manager. Maybe he has a relationship with Samantha down the road, because Samantha and Sam get along All right. So you got to involve people in the organization that speak on the same level, right? So the first question is, do you want Sam there? If the answer is no, so create a pathway to get him out. If the answer is yes, you have to create structures on who he's going to work well with. Once he starts working well with, then you can start integrating him with other people because he's got to have that positive energy. The positive energy around him is probably negative for him. So you need to create that with other people. You need to diffuse that situation and create that positive energy. Once that positive energy is there and he's wanting to be there, he's not being picked on, right? And he's not picked on by the manager that he's been reporting to, then you can put structures in there to bring him in line with the rest of the team. Right. So that's my kind of take on this.
Yeah.
But there could be other ways to do this. But I guess, there's no hard, fast rule. But the first question is, do you want Sam in the organization?
Well, and then the other guy that the manager has on a pedestal maybe is a bit more lenient with him. Maybe he's, I don't know, he likes the other guy, so he lets things slip through the cracks a little bit more. Where do you feel drawing the line is between this guy's a great performer, he's good, but the stuff that we let him get away with is affecting the rest of the team? Where's that line drawn?
I think it goes back to the KPIs. Yeah, you have to meet the KPIs.
And if you're setting those, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Unless he's not.
Yeah.
He's got to meet the KPIs.
And how long do you give them to meet their KPIs and have them optimized? Is it a year, 2 years? Like where?
It depends on organization. So, McDonald's may give a week for an employee to, make sure the cheeseburgers are done right.
Right.
All right. Maybe give him a day. Who knows, right? Or a day. If he's not making the cheeseburgers right by end of the week, he's going to be fired.
Yeah.
All right. So it just depends on each organization. What is the skill set of this person? If you had to fire him right now, can he be replaced straight away? You have to answer those questions yourself. So if it takes you 3 months to find this person, can you be without this person for 3 months?
Right.
Yeah. So, so that's, you got to look at how McDonald's run their business. It's very process driven.
Yeah.
Very methodological. Like you have to hit these KPIs. Someone's in a drive-through, they have to wait. Minimum wait is 45 seconds to a minute. And if it's more than that, they tell you to park in the bay and they'll deliver the food.
Yeah.
But these are all the KPIs that someone's watching and saying, hey man, you couldn't deliver a quarter pounder or cheese in 45 seconds. What's going on? Right? So if they're not hitting those targets, then they have to be performance managed. And performance management could be a day, could be a week, could be, McDonald's thinks that, they can get another guy flipping burgers tomorrow.
Right.
Because that's how they run.
So what are a few key ones for your organization that keeps everyone in line and basically outlines what winning looks like to them, right?
I guess it's the number of alterations. Yeah. So I guess that's for everyone, right? That's from the tailors to the staff to all the processes, is reducing the number of times that people have to come in and out of the thing. So if we look at how many people, out of 1 year, 10 people needed to come back 3 times. All right. The rest came in twice.
Right.
Which is normal. It's fine.
Yeah.
But there was 10 other people that needed to come in 4 times. And then we just kind of analyze, hey, what happened here? 4 times is a lot of time for someone to come in and out.
Yeah.
To get their suit or shirt or whatever. And then we look at number of refunds, So how many refunds have we done in the last year? 1, 0, So these are the metrics that we kind of look at to keep everyone in line. Sales, we we made a conscious effort for our staff not to be based too much on sales, how much they bring in, because we kind of left that for us, the directors. We have to push the sales into the shop. Conversions, we actually measure them on conversions as well. So we just want them to fulfill the lead. We don't want them to go too far down the road, start door knocking and start getting business. If the business is coming, they have to maintain that business. Maybe ask for referrals. That's normal.
Yeah.
But we're not telling them to go door knock.
So more lead management?
Yeah, lead management, yeah. Then business development. It kind of works for us. Then we get people managing the shop, managing the leads, then concentrating, oh shit, I didn't make my sales this month, It's because we know our lead generation is pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you measure it for sales guys more lead management, and the directors are more the face of the brand, bringing in those leads.
Yeah. So we have, again, systems. We have marketing team that look after each of those channels to make sure the leads are coming in. So once the leads are coming in, the fulfillment is done by the staff. So they're not worried when they go home, hey, I didn't make my sales targets for the week.
Right.
We look on conversions and we look at, hey, did you fulfill it right? Because that's the crux of it, right?
Yeah.
For our business.
Interesting.
Other organizations may have targets, but then they have bigger teams. They have, whatnot.
Well, and then the issue you run into that is if they're bad leads, if they're not even qualified leads, the guy's just pumping out as many as
Yeah. We've had that as well. So we actually tested this where we basically, within our business, we told someone to run their own business. So use our structure, use our brand name, but you run this as a business within our business.
Right.
So he was focused on getting his own leads. So he couldn't touch any of our leads. So, but he did a lot of dodgy stuff, like in terms of, creating false orders and all of this stuff. There was no orders and, discounting at the wrong level. So a lot of, and the only reason we picked all of this up is because he was going against the system. So once we had the system, he was not using the system the right way. And so a lot of the holes started to creep in within 6 months. He's not taking payments the right way. He's not creating the orders the right way.
Right.
He's not doing. So within 6 months, we found out this guy was running he was a bit of a schmuck. All right.
So, and how was his compensation formatted? Like, do you think that was
Yeah, so it was all sales commission based, right? So not salaried. It was not. So basically, all the leads that he brought in were his leads. He kind of inflated the price on a lot of. So we paid him on the revenue that he generated.
Right.
So let's say he generated $10,000 worth of revenue. He'll get paid 60% on 65% of that. So you get $6,500 for that $10,000
Right.
that he brings in. But that $10,000 was artificially inflated. He'll make invoices for people at $2,000, but in the system it'll be $2,000.
But he's only getting paid.
Yeah, he's only getting paid like $700.
Right.
So that wasn't being recorded, and there was a lot of mismatch payments in there. The fabrics he was selecting, it was all picked up within 6 months. We didn't lose too much money because at the end of the day, a lot of the leads are going through our system, but we just lost a little bit of face with a few customers.
Right.
But this is business.
And since then, you've found it's best just to get all.
So we've got rid of that commission only model. We focused on making sure our staff get paid as a salary
Decently within the org chart?
within the org chart, and then they get bonuses on meeting KPIs, And the KPIs that I spoke about were fulfillment, customer satisfaction. So we have feedback forms of customers that, have had suits from us, and Google reviews, how many Google reviews they get. So we have those types of matrices, and then how many sales that you bring in. It's conversions, So we had, 50 leads coming a month. We only converted 35, but last January we converted 45 out of 50. So, well, what happened here? So we kind of dissect all of that, and then we kind of tell them, okay, you did a good job.
So, and how regularly? Because it can be an issue overanalyzing too, like every single day.
Every 6 months we kind of go through the model. Yeah. So we go January, February, March, April, May, June,
and then you
do a reset.
Yeah.
And then we do another reset in January. So we do it the next.
And so you keep probably changing based on the last 6 months. Of
what needs to be done. The sales are down, conversion leads are there, but conversions are low. Like, what's going on? Is it price? Is it personality? Is it what is it? So we kind of work with the staff members on that.
Interesting.
On a 6 monthly basis.
So share with me a little bit about this location and the plan for Canada. What's the next steps for growth? Whether it's new locations, expanding this location, what's next?
So Oakville at the moment, very happy. Expansion plans. I don't know, it could be another store in Toronto or Mississauga somewhere.
So your 5-year plan, what does it look like?
5-year plan. Good question. It's to consolidate the Oakville location. Is probably the next couple of years. That's the first priority. The 5-year plan is probably open another showroom up downtown. Right. So I'm in the midst of looking for locations, earmarking them, and seeing where the shortages are, because I don't want to be in a position where I'm ready to go and then I don't know. So the homework is doing it now. So if I want to do something in, let's say, a couple of years, I want to know that I want to be there.
So what exactly do you look for?
I look for I want to see where the economy is going in the next 6 months, right? Foot traffic. I want to see people's discretionary spending, where that is going.
Right.
Once I understand the economics behind that, then running a business is a little bit easier. Then you know that you can invest in this part of the GTA, and then you can get some kind of return from it. So I think the economy will dictate where everything is where the next Montagio is going to be.
But, and it was so geography, or what the hell is the word?
Geography. Geography.
Yeah, geography based is studying what the economics or economy is looking like in these different geographic locations.
Yes, that's correct. So, let's say we're in a very high interest rate period right now. People are more worried about their mortgages and whatnot. I know it doesn't really affect us because we're we've actually stepped it up. So our client base,
doesn't bother them.
Doesn't really bother them, but it does bother them when they have to. Their level of concentration is not on suits, but making sure their businesses are running well, right? So let's say they're performing. They got a lot of wealth, but the business is not performing well. So do they go and spend money, or do they go spend money on retaining their staff?
Right.
So it's like a little bit of a, I guess, a circle of events that need to happen. So I've had wealthy customers come into the showroom, but they're more concerned about retention.
Interesting.
Then they got money, but they're more worried about their businesses going through the next period of economic growth.
So what do you think it's going to look like in the next 10 years? Like there's quite a few trackers that I study. There's also many variables as well that I think that the next, as we get into 25, 26, 27, we're gonna be booming again.
Yeah.
And around 29, 30, we'll have another crash. But
Yeah,
like what do you see?
Where's my crystal ball?
Yeah.
All this. We are going to go through mini cycles.
Yeah.
Mini cycles, big cycles. It's all dictated from policymakers to interest rates to consumers, right? So we are basically going to go through, at the moment, high interest rate period. Historically, in the last 6 or 7 years, we're going to go through another phase of growth in the housing sector.
Yeah.
So population is growing, so people are wanting to buy, and then that's going to level off, and then we're going to go through another
rough time.
Not rough time, more of a checking time,
right,
before we go up again, and we get dictated by the stock market, we get dictated by the policymakers, and we get and who's in power right now. All right, so I don't know too much about the Canadian politics, but it's pretty similar to the Australian politics. But policymakers dictate where everything's going to go. If you get too many concessions, then this is the outcome, and if you tighten the belt, this is the outcome, right? So the outcome is it's difficult to predict, but all I know is that we're going to go through mini cycles now for the next 10 years.
When you're right, there's so many variables. Looking at the next 10 years now, it's like
it's too many. There'll be market booms and crashes, and the volatility is going to be a little bit higher, and the duration is going to be shorter as well.
Right.
So historically, we've had booms going up for 6 years or 7 years or whatever, the gravy period.
Yeah.
And then we've had crashes for, let's say the COVID crash, like 4 or 5 years. But I think what's going to happen is the volatility is going to go up, and then the duration is going to be shorter. So the boom could be for 2 to 3 years, not 6 to 7 years.
Right.
But then
it'll be more up and down.
Yeah. So stuff like that, because it's always going to, historically, it's trended up, but you might see some stagnation in growth over time in the next 10 years, but we're going to see a lot of volatility, and duration is going to be shorter.
Good. So save your cash.
Save your cash, or invest. Volatility is great.
Yeah.
For investing, right? Because you can
invest when it's low.
Yeah, that's for if you're a broker or a stock trader, then volatility is great.
Yeah.
But because you can make money going up, and then you can make money going down as well. So both win-win situations, but you just got to be in the market. That's it.
Playing your cards right?
Yeah, just be in the market. That's what I say.
Yeah.
If you're looking to invest when the housing market's going to crash, it's not going to do it. Just get in now.
Right.
If you want to get into business, and you've got a steady head on your shoulders, get into it now. All right. So there's never a better starting point than now. That's my kind of,
That's awesome one, and there's so much to use these days as an excuse or as a way to procrastinate doing something. It's not always easy. It's not always the easiest thing to go out there and start an operation, right?
Yeah.
You're right. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just start and refine as you go.
Refining, keep refining, keep building, keep meeting people, keep educating yourself. I moved from Australia to Canada. Never been to Canada in my life, but I guess I used all my skill sets, right, to move here, to operate, to start a business, and be profitable from day one. So it takes a lot of guts, but you can do it. So that's
what were like networking. You're known already in Oakville. Quite you're the suit guy, and that's been the goal from the start. Coming to Canada and never been here before. Like was it the networking? You played your cards right. The advertising, or just jumping into it. Like what's a key thing if you can pinpoint it? Because
I think it's just being genuine. That's it. Just a nice, genuine person, and helpful. So I just want to help people. My motivation in business is always to help and learn. So if you come across as a helpful, you want to learn, you want to share your ideas, and you're not, sitting behind a wall all the time, then you come up as a genuine person. You have the right intentions. So once you have the right intentions, then you have the world at your feet because your intentions are right. If you have bad intentions, or you're always looking to cut corners, or just profit off people, then that's not the way business is run these days.
right.
You need an empathy. You need to contribute your skill set, right? So that's what I tell the youngsters as well. So if you're wanting to start a suit shop, and it's not Montagio, I'll go and help you because I want you to be successful in what you do. That's it.
Or we franchise Montagio.
Yeah.
Take this thing nationwide.
Yeah. Franchise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, adding value to whatever industry it is you're doing, and people see that.
Yeah.
It's so easy. People can read right through all the bullshit.
Yeah, all the bullshit. Yeah. So, and that's why I've been in business for 15 years now as well. So, across different geographical regions and now countries, right? So that in itself is, I give myself a pat on the back. So never be afraid to give a pat on the back for yourself.
Yeah.
For those types of achievements, you have to reflect on that as well. It's like, hey, hang on, I built that network in that country, and I built those 2 locations. Now I'm working in this location. Total different tax systems, political systems. But, the key thing is being genuine.
Right.
Being having the right intentions. If you have the right intentions, and you're not cheating people, you're not, doing the wrong thing, because they can see through all that.
100%.
And then you don't have any legs to stand on. So, you have to have your morals very high in business. You have to know what you want to do. And, things start to play their part.
And you just mentioned right now, always getting better, trying to get better, educate, learn.
Yeah.
And the concern of fear is there. I see it in business owners or guys wanting to take that first step. Like the worst you can happen is fail, but you have this wealth of knowledge from that first attempt, or in your case, that wealth of knowledge of building those 2 locations.
Yeah.
I'm going to use what I know, and a lot of it's different, but what I do know, I'm going to implement as much as I can in Canada.
Yeah, and then you can see the result here, right? This is my first showroom.
Yeah, it's impressive here, but also what people say before I met you or came here. I talked to Brent Stevens, and he's like, yeah, it's awesome. It's like, I've talked to all these guys, and Bally the suit, man, it's what you were known for. So
yeah, so it's only going to get better and bigger from there, right? So just got to keep motivated and just keep going. That's it.
Listen, let's wrap this up. I don't want to take any more of your time. I really appreciate it, Bally. Thank you for the suit. It's been awesome. Look good, feel good. And where can people find you if they're looking, whether it's suits or just to talk, get educated?
They could just email me at bally@montagio.ca. Give me a call on 647-545-2675. Or check out my website, www.montagio.ca. Yeah.
It's awesome. Love it. Thank you very much.
Take care.